Well, welcome to Jan-Piet's Choice. I keep saying this, but I'm so grateful, I say it one more time. We have our recording officer here on the squad who has been recording these Jan-Piet's Choices last month or something. You know, it's still like the fourth or fifth time we're doing this? Fifth time, I think, yes. And as a result, maybe you're now watching us on YouTube. So I'm saying to the people who are here with me at the church, of course, but maybe you are watching me at YouTube now. So, in a way, this is a bit of a continuation from what we did last week. And if coincidence exists, then this is it. Thanks to this wonderful website, IMSLP, where if you're a musician you probably know it, there's tons and tons and tons of classical music posted on that huge website. And I heard somebody say that the website is bigger than Google Books. It's enormous. Almost anything you could possibly want in classical music is there. A little bit less earlier music, like 17th century, 16th century, not so much. But the standard repertoire, let's say, it's almost all there. And often very, very interesting old editions, often facsimiles of the composer's handwriting, and so forth. Now, thanks to that website, we found this wonderful little violin and piano piece. But there's a whole story behind this, of course. But I thought we'd first play that piece as we found it on IMSLP. Wonderful, wonderful, interesting version. And very likable, we think. knows it?
It's familiar, but I'm not sure from where.
Yes, familiar, but
Yeah.
who knows from where it is, right? Or who the composer might be. Do you think it's Bach?
I don't know. Just a guess from last week. You said.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, don't listen to that sort of thing.
Are you going to say it's not?
No, I'm going to say. Are you?
No.
No, but I want to go a different route first. Can you imagine this nice little violin piano piece without a piano? You can. Well, should we try that?
Do you mean without the piano or
Yeah.
and with something else? Or just...
No, without the piano. Just the violin on its own. Do you think that would work?
Yes, I do.
You think it would?
I think it would.
So you say the piano is in fact useless?
No.
Superfluous. Redundant.
Sorry.
We don't really need the piano. Is that what you're saying?
I think it was written for both, but I think that either an instrument, or I call an instrument, can be used in their own.
But I mean, if I played the piano part alone,
It will sound funny.
it would sound pretty bad, right? Don't you think?
Because it's bass, isn't it? Bass.
I mean, it's funny in its own way, you know. But not exactly, I mean, not good. You know what I mean? Fair enough. But would that be the same if we asked Jerry Osterfeld here to play the violin part of our hand?
See, it carries the rhythm as well as the melody, but not in the... I mean, it would, the piano isn't redundant, obviously,
No.
but it would work.
It would be okay.
It would work.
Should we
but
try that?
Yes.
Should we try that? As I said last week, I can listen to this for a long time. I think it's brilliant playing. But so the question was, can this stand on its own? Is this enough without the piano?
It's different, that's
Yeah.
all.
Different, yeah, well, but
Yeah, I know. It gives it a different feel. The piano kind of lifts it into a more bouncy rhythm, does that?
So you think it was really composed with the piano, obviously?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think so. And it almost sounds as if it's part of some larger work, and this is just a solo piece in the middle of something.
Yes.
Well, it is a movement of a bigger piece, but the whole piece is written for the same instrument. Here's another
It
question.
should be written for a cello.
Ah, you think it might be a cello piece?
Possibly.
Well, interestingly, I have a different version yet of this piece here. And this different version does this. Well, the beginning is the same, sort of. can you play that bit, that couplet on the violin? That's the door. And this translation, if you like, puts the whole thing an octave lower and gives me all kinds of extra low notes. So it makes it almost a bit of a cello piece, as you said, right? But that is a translation, I would say. It's an arrangement. That's not the original piece. Go back to our violin piano version. Just play the first two bars. Right. That and my part. What do you think? Is that the same composer who wrote your part and my part? 4 bars.
I would have thought so.
I wouldn't either.
Same composer, you think? You say yes.
So, yeah.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? These are two composers collaborating in a way on what became this nice little violin piano piece. And the composers did not know each other. They may know each other now, but they did not know each other in life. The one composer sort of knew the music of the first composer, but the first composer hadn't been there a long time when his other composer was even born. And so what it is of course, this little violin piece is another movement from what we talked about last week, the prelude with Saint-Saëns' piano accompaniment, based on Bach, remember? And now this is another movement from the same piece. And I used a different edition with the piano accompaniment by this German violinist from the late 19th century. So, what you hear is Bach. In fact, Jodie Ostenfeld here does something rather remarkable. Not only does she play really well, but she in fact reads the music. She said, well, couldn't she memorize it? Well, she could, but she doesn't want to because she likes to play from this facsimile of Bach's handwriting. Now, put that in your pipe and smoke. That's not so. That's not at all common, I don't think, among violinists to do that. And I've sometimes asked Jodie, why do you do this? She says, I just like it better. The best answer in a way that you can think of, right? So she plays, in fact, from Bach's own handwritten notes. Very precisely. You can still talk about things. What I'm playing from is a printed out new copy of this thing that's, I'm sure, long out of print. Very funny, it's in fact called German Suite, Deutsche Suite, which is 4 or 5 movements from that third partita for violin solo by Bach, arranged for violin and piano by this 19th century German violinist, Wilhelmi. And Wilhelmi does all kinds of interesting things as he writes the piano part. The most remarkable thing is that, in fact, not this one, but another movement, he says, it gets a bit boring playing in the same key all the time. He transposes it up from E major to A major. I think maybe to make it a bit more difficult on the violin or something, or to have some variety. Very interesting. As he writes this piano part for this gavotte, he brings out I think, all kinds of lovely things that are maybe in Bach's music. And arguably even more interesting, he also adds all kinds of things. He makes up all sorts of things that are definitely not in Bach's music, but that you could sort of add to it, and makes it not exactly better, but in some ways definitely cuter, and certainly interesting. I find this fascinating, not the least because it tells you so much about how people 120 years ago heard Bach. Obviously different from us, but therefore not wronger, if that's correct information, of course not, but not less correctly than we do. And in some ways, my own feeling is, in some ways, maybe they heard sometimes things still a little bit better than we do. That's my own personal feel, and explains a bit my interest in this sort of, what do you call it? Arrangements, really, late 19th century arrangements of Bach, by adding a nice piano part to make the piece, I don't know, a bit more digestible for concert use. We talked a bit about it, like I mean, it sounds very beautiful, but who's gonna listen to a concert for an hour or two of only violin without piano? You know, it's a bit sort of specialist work, you know what I mean? And I think that was part of the reason why people like Wilhelmi provided a piano accompaniment for these pieces, and other people did so too. It was a very generally felt omission, almost, on Bach's part. How could you write for violin alone? He forgot the piano accompaniment. They knew he had not really forgotten it, but they looked at that music nonetheless a bit that way.
I was just wondering, a few weeks ago you were talking about people playing families.
Oh yes.
Could that be part of it too? Because
I'm sure
so many people learn the piano, and fewer people possibly in their homes learn the violin, or would it?
Oh, I think both would have happened. But yeah, I think part of the whole thing is also that you make the piece available for playing together in the home, more than in concert situation. I think it's very, very important. Yeah, and you can so easily see, you know, a very good child, a very good violinist, a young violinist playing this piece of violin, and daddy or mommy say, "Well, I'll accompany you now. We have this," or younger brother or something, you know. So I think yes, that's maybe an important raison d'être also for this music, a reason for its existence. Well, shall we play it one more time? And I'll try to point out some things that I or we find interesting and maybe cute and maybe nice about this music. Yeah, here we go. But already at the beginning, there's something remarkably interesting. What would you musicians, what would you expect maybe to be written at the beginning of a piece of music? That sort of stuff, yes. Clef, key signature, yes, absolutely. What else? Very often. Not often, always, but often.
Direction of what kind of speed.
Yes, a tempo indication.
Yeah.
Yes. And now, interestingly, Bach's own version that our violinist here is playing from, right? Bach's own handwriting, really, well, does not really have that. It tells you what kind of piece it is. It's a gavotte en rondeau. It's a gavotte, and not all gavottes are like this, but you can make gavottes as a rondo, meaning that the beginning comes back with different bits in between, right? So it's a gavotte en rondeau. Bach does not give our violinist here a tempo indication. But you could say, well, a gavotte is a gavotte, is a gavotte, is a gavotte, right? So in a way that's fair enough. people in 1890 or 1900 something in Germany, I'm sure a gavotte was not a gavotte. It doesn't mean anything. So, our violinist, Wilhelmi, he felt he had better write in a tempo indication, which he did. And it says allegretto, brackets, tempo giusto. Now, this is, I find, incredibly fascinating, not the least because Bach would never have thought of writing allegretto. The term existed at Bach's time, but was not ever, to the extent of my knowledge, used by Bach himself. It's not part of his repertoire of tempo indications. So it's funny that an arranger 150 years later puts that word with music by Bach. It's, I think, a very apt tempo indication. Allegretto, of course, means a little bit like allegro, but not quite so fast. And I think that's incredibly apt for this. Tempo giusto, even more puzzling in a way, but it means something like the right tempo, and maybe also something like the normal, standard tempo that you would expect. And I think that is sort of the tempo that we're playing, but I cannot quite prove this. So that's it. Then, all kinds of wonderful things in the piano part in the beginning. Play one now. Emphasized it a bit more this time, but when we first played this, I said, oh my gosh, that is so wrong. He just got it completely wrong. We play it one more time. See if you hear it too as wrong. It's like this arranger goes home a little bit too early. And he goes, and I'm not sure if this is intentional, if he says, yeah, it should have gone different, but I can do it a little bit differently, or if he just has, if he didn't work so much for his harmony in the university. But to me it's wrong. I'll play you by contrast that same other arrangement for piano alone, which has a very different solution. We have to do it one more time so that I can hear the difference, if you don't mind. That's all fine. Not most. Wrong, I think. Here is, I think, a much more accurate translation. You hear the difference? Shall we do it one more time? We'll do it one more time. That's so much fun. But the other one has something. Because sometimes to do something a little bit different is fun and cute, right? We go on. We play a bit more. We see we can catch a bit more interesting stuff. You are. as we were working on this together, I said, well, I think in a way, there should be a little comma there, I think. And I can get Johnny to do that, I think. Can you do it, Jan? Right, with a little comma. For me it makes more sense. But then I said, you know what? I'm not sure that you must do that. Because my own bet, I can never be sure, is that Bach might have liked it that way. Clearer, more straightforward, nice. But 100 years later, or 150, violinists might have liked to play sometimes longer sentences. And so maybe these violinists, whose version in a way we're playing, might have liked more to connect those two with less break in the middle. And then I looked at the piano part and I said, in fact, it's interesting because the piano part does glue those two bits together. And he does that all the time. Where you expect a comma in the music, the piano part often says, no, we go on. Or at least in one hand. And I thought it was really interesting because, in my view, that shows you a different way of treating this music in the late 19th century from maybe what I think the time that it was written originally. You see what I'm saying? So when we play it again, she can in a way do what she likes, but the piano part still somewhat connects those two lines in a very, very lovely way. I'm not sure that Bach would have liked this, but I think that people like Liszt, maybe Brahms, Ravel, Debussy probably would have liked this. But what does the arranger write in the piano part? So, very nice way. I think he emphasizes the light beats. So, down, 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 down. You see what I'm saying? A very wonderful idea, I think. Would Bach have done that? Not normally. I think he could have maybe. But it's very, very cute, very lovely. And it tells you so much about how they heard this music. And then we have this. For the first time, I think this arranger says in the piano part, and now you must use your pedal. Gonna let the piano really resound. It's not loud, but we want this nice, warm blanket sort of thing. Listen to it again. It's beautiful, I think. That's more than Bach would have liked for contrast, but it's wonderful nonetheless. When we first played this, I said, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. And it's completely wrong. I don't think Bach would have written this. But isn't it marvelous? And is that not so typical for the late 19th century to hear this music that way? And I think maybe Bach, if he was in a good mood, would be smiling on this. If he was in a bad mood, maybe not. Can you start from here? The arranger has this nice high ethereal sort of piano, also typical late 19th century, a little bit Liszt likes that sort of stuff too. Can you do something? But people like Bach did that sort of thing all the time. It's not cheap, it's lovely. And I like it so much, I try to make it a little bit more cheap in a way because it's so nice. And before that, sometimes this arranger says, I found a nice sort of cute little counter melody to put in the piano against the violin. And to make sure that you can hear it, you often might play this a little bit louder, right? And I give you an example of that. Can you do the can you not do something new with it? Because in the late 19th century, it becomes more and more naughty to play the same thing in the same way more than 2 or 3 times. So now the beginning comes back, and he says, well, I cannot really change the violin part, but hey, the piano part is mine. I can do what I like. So he puts in these extra notes. Could you tell? Like he puts in those running quavers, staccato. I sort of imagine if this is an orchestra, you would have the violin staccato. And it's so much fun. And so not Bach. But again, I think, you know, after a glass of wine or 2, Bach would be smiling and loving it. Can you do it? And of course, I said again, she is reading from Bach's own handwriting. I mean, a photocopy of it, right? But, but nonetheless. And there is no, in this movement, no, not even no forte, no piano. There's no dynamics at all. I'm not saying that that means every note should be equally loud. But for Bach, obviously in this movement, dynamics are not a factor, let's put it that way. They're not really part of the composition. See what I'm saying? You don't need them. But that is of course not true for our wonderful arrangement. Who puts dynamics everywhere, but very conspicuously here. And if you thought I was just a little bit loud, that's because I'm reading from this 19th century score that says fortissimo. And we talked about it, and we decided that Jody would still play from the original Bach score, and I think that's good. But Wilhelmi in this edition, and interestingly also Saint-Saëns in the piano solo transcription that I played bits of already for you, they both think that this section is fortissimo. Here's Saint-Saëns. Saint-Saëns and the other guy knew each other. I think the idea that it is fortissimo comes from the music itself. And my feeling is that maybe it comes partly from the double stops. The double stops inherently, I think, are sort of loud. Okay, play them around. Would be maybe only the top notes. Can you do that? But Bach said, now I worked out how you can play thirds here. And then, obviously, it's going to be louder right away. It's in a way like I can do Rollins, of course. And I think both Wilhelmi and Saint-Saëns picked that up. And they say, it's fortissimo. Bach would never have been fortissimo, but I think they're somewhat right in that observation. So I'm trying to get a violinist here to play a bit louder for that section because I think it's so nice. And here's, I think, a nice example of where you can learn, maybe as a violinist, from these late 19th century transcriptions and arrangements. She plays, and then now she plays. Wilhelmi tells me to play. So keep telling you. So in a way, she stops playing those quite but Wilhelmi then gives them to me. I can continue those quavers for her. Now is that not lovely? I think it's so nice. This is my favorite moment in this arrangement. Let's see if we can pick up on that. Can you do but really slow? Yeah, we won't come. Yeah. So I don't know about you, but I am quite convinced that this wonderful moment, Bach might have dreamt of it, but I don't think he would have written it, right? But Wilhelmi, I think, in a way, hears this somehow inherently in Bach's notes. And I think he's wrong. I don't think it's really there. But from his post-Wagnerian perspective, this makes perfect sense. And from my post-Stockhausen perspective, I cannot help loving it. I also know with my brain that Bach would have said, what are you playing now? But I cannot help totally loving it. I think it's a marvelous moment. Just that chord. Zullen we de conclusie maar overgaan? This particular thing, I think Bach would probably have allowed. And I think if Bach had made his own arrangement for harpsichord solo or organ solo, those notes might have. This is Saint-Saëns right in Bach's bullseye. It's spot on, as far as I'm concerned. I think it's marvelous. And if he would perform this version for violin piano, I might maybe borrow from Saint-Saëns and put that in. Why not, you know? Shall we try that? I'm going to try and put it in. Can you do your big scale one now? problem. And seen at the same time through the eyes, through the, what color is it? Light bluish or something, glasses of this late 19th century German violinist Wilhelmi, with occasional reference to, what color are these glasses? Saint-Saëns piano transcription of the same piece. And I think Saint-Saëns better ears for Bach's harmonic and contrapuntal language. But both Saint-Saëns and Wilhelmi, incredible fun. Is Wilhelmi a bit more fun in a way? Yes, because it's nicer as a pianist to play this piece with a violinist than on your own. But both have its charm. But we went for this violin piano version today. And I think your point about was this music partly to play at home? I think it's well taken. Yes. Yeah. Very good. How are we doing? You better get out of here. Thank you very, very much. Oh, we play the last bit more now to finish. The last rondo. That's it. So that was my choice for this week. Next week there will be yet another choice. We keep trying to work out what to do next week, and then we have a plan and it goes wrong and it goes different. But usually we have something, I think, fun and interesting. And the other week I said, look, there's so many things to do. We need more Jan-Piet's choices. And so we don't know what to do about it. Thank you for being here, and thank you for watching us online. Thank you.